Welcome to another episode of The Brand Called You, a podcast and podcast show that brings you leadership lessons, knowledge, experience, and wisdom from hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. I am your host, Ashutosh Garg, and today I'm delighted to welcome a very, very accomplished entrepreneur, networker from Budapest, Hungary, Mr. Luigino Bottega. Luigino, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Thanks, and thank you for the invitation.
Thank you.
And really, it's an honor for me to be here. And I hope that I can be useful with some good thoughts for our audience.
Thank you. Luigino is the founder of WinTheGame Life. He's the founder of Eventonetwork, and he's the co-founder. He's the co-founder of ID Venture. So my first question, Luigino, is that when I was reading about you, I was amazed. How do you manage so many different businesses?
You know, I always say that everything starts from love and passion, and balance. This is our key words for our life. And of course, if we love what we do in private life, on the job, and if we are driven for our passion and we are full of enthusiasm, first of all, you can do amazing things. And of course, you enjoy every moment like a game. Your life become like a game. It means that when you play the game, you are happy. In this way, you don't feel the stress. You can perform better. And of course, what is important to have good partners that together you can achieve your result.
Very interesting. So we spoke about three different businesses when I was introducing you. Tell me about each of these businesses and what do you do in each of them?
Yeah. Yes. First of all, I like to tell you about WinTheGame Life. This is the last my project that really I felt that for me now is very important to empower and foster people to lead their own destiny, because only in this way we can together we can create a better world. To ignite the people, not to discover himself, to discover their own inner prophecy, why we are here. And yes, and through this I do different activities, mentoring, life coaching. I wrote a book, this that you can find also in Amazon, is How to Win at the Game of Life. And I created with this mentoring scheme that through this way, this philosophy, also I create an event when people can meet together and share thoughts and grow together, because only in this way we can multiply our effect. So
before we go further, tell me a little bit about some of your points on how you win the game of life.
We are the hero of our life, first of all, and only we can win or lose this game, the game that is our life. And the way is to open our mental cages, because we have a lot of cages in our mind, that are built on our past, from our education, for our history, and we need to be to invest in the direction of the awareness, of the truth. And I use this metaphor of the game because it's easy to understand through this metaphor where we play, how to win, and how to become hero, because it's the final destination.
Right. Very interesting. Then let's move to your next company or your business, which is Eventonetwork.
Eventonetwork, yes. Eventonetwork is networking, bring people together, amazing people together, is the way how to create amazing things, But when you put together energy, people with the same vision. And several years ago, I started these activities in Budapest to organize corporate event. This activity was successful. I started to think, why not to involve also other agency, all around Europe, in other cities, to do the same. I can be focused on the marketing, on the generate new contact, new potential clients, and in this way to create a group of professionals, expert in this sector, and yes, was a very, what I can say, I'm proud of this little son. And yes, of course, with COVID it was more complicated. Now is slowly we recover from this situation, but yes, Eventonetwork is a right, let's say, network where the companies can find a supplier for their corporate events in all Europe, in different cities, Lisbon, Barcelona, Venice, Budapest.
So, Luigino, tell me, why is networking so important in our life?
You know, I wrote something very interesting in my book that I call it this tic-tac-toe of the game of life. Do you know this game, tic-tac-toe, where you need to put three X or three circle in line? And yes, you need to put three X in line. And for me, the first X is sharing and becoming inspired, because only in this way you can feel the energy, you can feel your bliss that you can express to the world. And the second X is when you are inspired, you need to take decision and action, because you need to realize this. And the final X is to learn, to have experience and grow. When you have in line these three X in sequence, you can be a winner. And for you understand that the first X is to share, means that we need to make networking with others. We need to be connected, because only in this way we can increase more fast our level of awareness through the interaction with others.
Very interesting. And, people, different types of age groups have different understanding of networking. When I was growing up, it was actually going to different, places, meeting people, exchanging notes. Now it is, how many likes do I have?
Yes.
How is social media impacting networking?
All we know that social media is a tool that improve our ability to send message or receive message, and to be, let's say, connected everywhere. From one side, we need to be careful, because of course this what we see from, let's say, from outside inside, through from outside to us, what we see, what we perceive, probably is not the true, is some kind of deformation of the reality. It means that we need to be very careful. And the other side, of course, if you, in the way to deliver message to the world in the network, it's important that you have a clear vision, that in this way, and a clear project, in this way your message is more strong, and you can create community around your vision. And
the next question on networking is, when should we start to network?
If you don't do immediately, networking is the key element of our life. Back also in the book, is one of the 4 domains where we played our game of life is the domain of the connection from your inner focus inside and the external world, the others. And of course, the nature, the world. Means in the 4 domain, one key elements that graphically I brought also close to the heart, because we need to open the channel of empathy, the connection, is the relation. The other 3 domains are, of course, the domain of the physical needs, because all we need physical needs to survive, to evolve, and the mind, the domain of the mind, and the domain of the spirit, the soul. Means that we play our game in these 4 domains, and where it is very important, the domain of the relation.
And my next question to you, Luigino, is that different cultures around the world network differently. Some are culturally very outgoing. Some are culturally not so outgoing. What are your thoughts on how culture impacts networking?
Yeah, this is true, because there is some kind of filters that in which way we grow up, that from education, from the communication, from what we receive from the family, and we have also different leaders. We follow different. We grow up in different ways with different culture. I think that what can unite us, because we are already all connected in some way. We need to be more aware of this. And I think in the moment that you invest in your in knowing better yourself and go more deep inside you, and you are open to listen the others, listen and understand also the other perspective, and to make synthesis, okay, and don't be close in your bias. This is the way how we can really evolve like humanity. Means that, yes, be open to listen the other, and open your channel with I told before, the love and caring is very important, and understanding the other person very important, because on this way we can be united and do amazing things together.
So your platform, which supports networking, tell me, how does it work?
Mainly technically, I do online activities. About Eventonetwork, I do online activities that through the different tools that we have, for example, Google, keywords, promotion online, targetizing exactly some target all around Europe, or in the direction of mainly in Europe, but also we have some clients from US. And through these activities, I generate leads, I generate contact for all my part of my network that I deliver to these requests from all to my partner, depending which city the client is interested. And I have this cooperation and exchanging know-how with the other partners. And yes, in this way, my partner grow, and we share the result about also the business result of the network.
So if I want to meet someone else, say in Hungary, can I come to your platform and look for them?
You know, the platform Eventonetwork is more, let's say, B2B. Means that companies that are interested to find an agency or specific partner to develop their, let's say, to develop their corporate events. But also we here, for example, in this moment, I'm in a IT group where is the basic, and then say our office. And of course, through we receive a request from different country, and we accelerate the process of developing business, because we use our old, let's say, database of contacts, and we listen the needs from the potential, let's say, client, and we find the solution.
My next question on networking, Luigino, is that this is now the age of the young people, the millennials and the Gen Zs, who have now started to get into leadership roles in the corporate world and as entrepreneurs. What are they thinking on communities and networks?
You know, I'm not a big expert in the different generation, but for sure, what I know that each of us, also all the generation, we are all human, and how what we do is based in our beliefs, and means the different generation, probably through the education, through the communication and the role models, they grow up with different beliefs. And I think that what is more important for us today to ask to ourselves if we are good role model to the new generation, if we can become good, if we are good leader that inspire a better future for the generation that comes. I think that is a big responsibility for us, for the future of the humanity, to be the example. No? I like the quote of Gandhi, my life is the message. Yes, first everything starts from us. Let's be a good example for the new generation.
Interesting. So, to move to another part of our conversation, when I was reading about you, you also supported political campaigns in Italy.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me a little bit about the work you were doing.
Yes, under the umbrella of ID Venture, I create a group of professionals that we are focused on developing marketing and communication for political campaign. Mm-hmm. There is a different kind of let's say player. There's a party or a candidates to become mayor of one city, or person that want to enter in this complex world of the politics. I still believe that there exists the good politics, because today we can see all this kind of, let's say, noise, a strange message that more divide than unite. But I believe that there is person that really they want in some way to make positive impact of the community. The community means that. Especially now, when if I receive some requests that to use my skills, experience, I want to know the project of the person is is the quality of his moral way to see the life, and of course the vision. And yes, and I already worked in several situations, and I think that I make my part, and sometimes. It's not an easy activity because it's a big, let's say, campaign are always a big, like a war. This is the reason why the team that work, the core team, the work is the name is the war room. The people of the war room, and not easy, but really there is a lot of fun and some way also stress, of course.
Oh, nice. And when you work with a political leader,
yes.
What do you look for to create that individual's brand?
My focus is to not use the communication to transform the leader, to show a fake, that's something like that only the people, something that the people want to listen, We like to use the leader to reveal the leader. The reveal is a uniqueness, is a core value. This is the way how you can make a better, let's say, activities, to understand deeply the person and to show in clear way the integrity of the person to the citizen, and of course his plan, his vision, because only in this way the people can feel and can have trust in the person, and through the trust, that we can build a better future.
And what happens when halfway through a campaign, some really negative news comes out, as happens many times in political campaigns?
Yeah, it's a part of the process. Yes. We call this, there is this way to say that shit happens, means that is a part of the process. Is like in life, the failure are part of the process. You start from the beginning and you know that for sure there is this kind of situation. Yes, we need we need to use there is some technique that we use in brainstorming how to do, in which way communicate, especially some technique connected with parallel thinking. If we need to be creative, and especially I'm expressed the best in this field because I'm a creative person, and typically I'm called from these things because I like to to imagine and to invent solution.
Very interesting. So Luigino, we're going to now move to the last segment. I have a few questions for you personally, because my viewers and listeners like to know my guest a little better.
Yes.
You are an amazing entrepreneur. I would love to know from you, what have been 3 key milestones in your life?
That every day need to be our masterpiece. But if I rewind my life and I look back, probably in the different me, in different situation, different business, I can remember very with pleasure, for example, the moment when I received some award from the main economic Italian newspaper, that for some project. This was one very good memory for me. The second, the election, the successful election of the Mayor of Venice. I work in this campaign and was really one amazing result. The city is stunning. I suggest to everybody to, if you are nobody, if some not visit yet Venice is a dream. Believe me, it's a beautiful city. And the third, I think that, yes, the book, that for me, my book was, what I can say, I begin to this process to write the book in the moment of my transformation, in the journey, in my quest of awareness, that quest for awareness and the truth. And I was so satisfied when I saw finally physically the book in my hands, and I'm very proud of it.
So what is the name of the book again?
This one.
Okay.
How
to win at the game of life.
How to win at the game of life.
Very nice, very nice. And it's available on Amazon?
Also in Amazon, yes.
Okay.
And yes, my little child.
Okay, very nice. So I have time for two more questions.
Yes.
My next question to you is that as you look back at life, what does success mean to Luigino?
This is a very interesting question. For me, success is not something that you achieve. It's something that is in time, is more one attitude, is more one ability. Which kind of ability? Is the ability to imagine and realize a better future for you, for the others, and for the cosmos. This ability, that you imagine something and that you are able to bring this manifest in this physical reality. And for good for you, for the other, and for everything, means cosmos, I consider the Earth, but now that we soon become one multiplanetary species, I need to talk not only Earth, but the cosmos.
Very well said. Very well said. And my last question to you is that given the amazing amount of diversity you have in your work, who or what inspires you?
For me, I told before, the quest of truth, to searching for the truth, this very inspired me this way. And I am inspired from today and from the past leaders that was able with their life to increase the level of awareness and connected with the consciousness in the world. With their life, they prove that is possible, and they inspire the others. Means that, yes, the quest of truth and the leaders, inspiring leaders.
Wonderful. Luigino, on that note, thank you so much for speaking to me.
My pleasure.
Thank you for talking to me about all your different businesses. Thank you for talking to me about at such length about networking. Thank you for speaking to me about how you build political campaigns in Italy. And thank you for speaking to me about your book.
Thank you so much.
Thank you again, and good luck. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Brand Called You videocast and podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the Brand Called You.